Okay, so I'm Nurnisa. I'll be your mentor for Backend, and today we'll be doing a quick overview of HTML and CSS. So this is something that will be essential for the following weeks when we tackle into backend projects. Okay. So after HTML CSS, I'll introduce the mini task 1 as well as how you can submit your weekly tasks. So HTML, it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So hypertext is all the links together, which is there in HTML, as well as markup is the tags, which is there in HTML. And the next one would be the HTML boilerplate. So this is something that just by clicking on Shift and 1, you can directly get this template in VS Code. And here you can see below you have the header elements, and you have an opening and a closing tag for each of the HTML elements. And here you have the paragraphs elements as well. Now we have a self-closing tag, which is the HR tag, which makes you um, um, like draw a line to separate two paragraphs, as well as your BR tags. If you want to writing a poem and you want to break the lines, and you can use your BR tag as well. So the next is a list. So this is something very important. We'll be further using them in creating a navigation bar. So you have unordered list with bullet points, and you have ordered list which are giving you numbers, a numbered list. Okay. The next one would be our anchor tags or anchor elements. In anchor elements, if you see, you can link something to a text that you display within the anchor tag. Okay, so using href attribute, you can link things, and using file paths and image elements. So here, if you see, image element is over here. So you have a source attribute where you can put in your URL to an image, or you can even fetch it from your file structure. So do it from a file structure. Dot slash is used if you are putting in an image from the same folder where the HTML file is there. So here your HTML file, within the same folder you have cheetah.jpg, so I'm using dot slash. We will use a double dot slash when you are fetching things from outside, okay, the folder, right? So if test session 1.1 is a folder that contains HTML, our HTML file. If you want to go outside that particular folder, you use double slash, and from there you can fetch an image and display. Okay, and yeah, so now we'll go to the CSS refresher by live code. Yeah, so before going to CSS, in case you have some questions regarding HTML itself and you want to go deep into it, then you can check out the additional resources which are there. I have added them in that Google Doc, and you can go and learn about HTML itself in deep. Okay, so CSS, first thing is the types of CSS. You have external CSS, so where we can link our HTML file to some external file that we have created, that is your styles.css. So you can write your CSS code over there, and then it will automatically get applied to your HTML. And next one is internal CSS. So here again within your style tag, so all this is happening both internal and external, we are defining within the head tag. Okay, and within this you can call out an element, and you can say make its color to red. So here I'm calling the paragraph element, and all of them are going to be red in color. Now here if you see, I have got two inline CSS that's happening, and here inline CSS is something that we do not prefer. Usually the best method is to use external CSS to keep things separate, the styles, the content of the website, as well as the logic. We want to keep them all separate. And one more concept is about priority. So first I will comment this one out, and about priority, what we can say is that the inline CSS is given the highest priority when the code executes. Okay, so what I'll say is, now initially if I run this and open live server, you can see that all the paragraph text is in red. But now if I make a new paragraph text, okay, this is paragraph, and I put and define a color blue, and I put hello inside, then what do you expect? Is it going to be red or blue? when we check our code, you can see it's blue. Now, why has it become blue? The reason is the priority, right? So since we can override the styles in our inline CSS. So whatever you defined in external can be overridden in your actual code. Although it is not preferred because it will lead to a lot of confusion for people who are going to be working on your code next. So here the priority, like how it will be, your inline is of highest priority, then you have internal, then you have the external CSS. Then we have our CSS selectors. So first we selected elements, right? So that was the P, paragraph tag. Now you can also select classes or IDs. So you have to define these classes or IDs. How can you define them? Within the label, okay? Now within any tag you can define them, okay? The label or paragraph or anything. So here I have like taught here I have added a form, okay, and it's a simple form with some labels and input. So input, if you see, it usually carries an attribute type. If you can say it's a type of text or a checkbox or things like that, and you have a name ID that I have defined. ID usually is a name that you give, okay, to a particular tag, and it should be unique. That means you cannot use the same ID name somewhere else, okay. And here label, we can mark it as green. So here if you see, mark green is the class I've added to both the labels, so first name and last name. That means I wanted to change the color to green. So I added a name to it. So now class can be, you can add like multiple tags can have the same class name. It is all fine, okay. It wouldn't have an error, but you cannot have multiple tag names having the same ID. That will result in an error, okay. So here I have mark green, I have changed the color to green, and you can see you use a dot operator over here when you are selecting a class, and you use a hash when you're selecting an ID, okay. And yeah, so that's about it about our selectors. Then we have our position. So position absolute and position relative, okay. So that's something that we will be experimenting on, okay. So now if I open this in live server, you can see I have two boxes, okay. One is a parent box and one is a child box. So here you can see I've defined that in a div, parent box and child box. So within the parent box you have a child box div, and I've given some styling also, with height to be what's the width, and also the font size and things like that, okay. So the parent div is the bigger one, black in color, and the child div is the one that is brown in color, okay. Now I want, if you think about this as a dialog box, I want the smaller box to go to the top right corner. So what will I do for that? I want to move, right? I want to move this particular child element relative to the parent element, okay. So for that we can use position relative and position absolute. If you simply put maybe left 40, let's see if it's going to move to the right hand section, sorry. Let's, okay, yeah. So let's just put left 40, is nothing is going to happen, okay. So when you open this or when you add position absolute and position relatives, things will change, okay. So I've made the parent box to be something that the child box is relative to. Now if you see, things have changed. Left 40 has worked, okay. 40% left has worked because we have added a position relative and absolute. So this left, right, top, left will only work when you have a position relative or absolute. So now we know how your parent box you have to put relative, and in how in your child box you have to put absolute as a position. Then yeah, so then we will do some live coding for the nav bar, okay. So if you see, for I'll just make a boilerplate over here and give it nav bar, okay. So usually our nav bars are like a section of our web page, and it's on the top, right? So if we think about it in our web page, now if you take this open live server, you can see nothing is there. So we want our navbar to be on the top. So it will be a division on the top. Okay. So now I'll just add div. Okay. And I'm going to put in an ID nav. Okay. And within that ID, okay, so within that nav bar, usually in a nav bar, we have two sections. One will be section where you have a company name, another section we have about and all that, right? So within the nav bar, I will have two other divisions. One name class logo, another div named class menu. Okay. Now let's see how all this should look. So for that, we'll have to add in a style. So styles we add in a head tag, and now I'm adding the style. Okay, and yeah, so I'm going to first add a background color so that things are always visible when we are making any changes. Okay, and I'm going to add a height 100%, so not 100%, 100 pixel, width to be 100%. Okay, and let's see what's happening over there. So yes, you have it displayed like this, and then let's go do something to our logo. Now that's a class, so I use a dot operator, and in our logo again I will add the same bit of code over here, and the width only I will change. Okay, the width will be 30% of the navbar. Okay, so 30% of the navbar will take. The color I will change so that you can identify it. Now I'll change the color to maybe this yellow or something. Okay, and you can see, yeah, there's some error. Yeah, okay, so now you can see 30% of this nav bar is turned into this, brownish yellow color. And now the remaining should be our menu, so let's do that as well. Menu. So I'll change the color again to something else. Okay, and some version of, okay, then I'll put now 70%. Okay, the rest of it should be this. Okay, now here you can see what's happening. I want the 70% should actually come over here side by side, not top bottom. So the top bottom is happening because we're using div. Okay, so within our nav bar you're having two divs. So divs usually come on top of each other, right? So one after another they'll be coming. So to make them come side by side, we use flex. So where do we add the flex? The display flex we will add. So where do we add it so that things are side by side? What are the things you want to get side by side? Logo and menu. So they are within navbar. So navbar is a parent and logo menu within. So we'll put display flex over here in our parent. Okay, so when you put display flex in the parent, the child elements will all be side by side. So you can see this is what happened. Things have now become side by side. This is our desired result. Now within our logo we can write maybe company name, right? The company name that we can write. You can do some more styling to logo to make sure that the company name is in the center and stuff. Okay, and in the menu we will add a list, an ordered list I'm adding, and this list will be of class menu items. So menu items is the name of the class. Now within that I'm adding some li, maybe about, li of home, li of contact us. Okay, now let's see what's happened. Now here you can see my list, as it always, lists are usually top bottom, right? So you have it displayed like this, but we want it from left to right to be displayed one by one. So for that, where do you think we will be placing our display flex? So we'll be placing it within a parent. So who is a parent to this home, about, contact us? It's this class. Okay, so this tag ul is the parent, so we will be adding it within the menu items class in the styles. So I'll add a new menu items class. Items. Okay, and within that, item. Okay, so this time we'll be careful with the names. And here we'll add display X. Okay. Now if you see, things have come side by side. Now once they came side by side, you can see all they're like, together, and it's not making any sense now. So to solve that, we can add something called gap. So sorry, gap. Okay, so gap we'll add as 20%. Okay, so when you add gap 20%, you can see there's a gap, and we want to remove the bullet points. So for removing bullet points, we have to use list style type. Okay, and this we will place to none. Now all this red is coming because I forgot the semicolon. Okay, and semicolon. Hope so this is right. Yes, it is. Okay, about home and contact us, there is no bullet points. So this is how we have used flex and created a good looking nav bar, somewhat decent. And you can do more styling to make it look like a realistic nav bar. And I think this is it again about our CSS review. Now going back, we will have our weekly task part 1. So this is just completely with HTML and CSS. You just have to style your own to-do list. Okay, and here you just have to make sure that you have all these criteria met, all your components are having all this, and you can have your own styles. It's up to you how you want to style your to-do list, but make sure that the structure is the same. Colors and things can be different. So this is something that we'll be using in this code. We'll be building on it in our backend as well around week 4. And now let's go on to look how you will submit your work, your code, whatever the folder that you have built for your weekly task, right? First, you should have a GitHub account. And if you have one already, then I'll show you. If you don't have, then you can create it. So this is my account. You just have to go create your own repository, and then we create a new repository. You can add like name, repository name, okay, weekly task, and then keep it public so that I can access, and then add a readme file, and you have to create a repository. So once you have created your repository, what you have to do is go to GitHub desktop. So in GitHub desktop, you can download it. It's quite simple process to download it. Once you open, you will see your repositories over here. Okay, once you have connected your GitHub online account, okay, you'll see your repositories over here. So now, since I have already downloaded it long ago, I have it. I can see my repositories over here, and I can clone a repository. So here I will have to check where is my, and let's see. Yes, so there you have it, weekly task. I can clone it. So once you clone it, you can see the weekly task is the current repository, and you can see I have it in my downloads and weekly task, right? So here I'll go to my downloads, and here you can see my folder is created. Now the readme is also there. Okay, so over here you can copy your work. So what was our work? Our work, what we did, now I'll just copy that, okay, that folder. So there's session 1.1. So session 1.1, I'll copy this. Okay, and this is my work from my local, right? And now I have already cloned my repository locally, so I will just add this, okay, over here. Okay, my weekly task, cloned repository. Now we go back to our GitHub desktop, and you can see that it has automatically understood that there is some changes that have been made. Okay, and now what we can do, we can write added some message task 1 or something, and we can commit to main and then click on push origin. Okay, yes, now it's over, now it's gone or to our online account. So let's see if it's there. Now we just refresh this page, and yes, we have it, right? Session 1.1 has been added. Now I can view your code. Okay, so you just have to send me the link of your GitHub repository, and I can check like each week you will send for each of the weekly tasks, and I can check whether it is done or not. So I'll send a Google form where you can send the link to the GitHub repositories. So I think that's it from my side, and the whole study group would be based on your weekly tasks, what you submit, and your capstone project. So if you do all of that, then you will be eligible for a certificate. And apart from that, attending these sessions will really be beneficial, since whatever you need to do in your weekly tasks, most of that I'm covering it within the sessions as well. So this is it from me.